Chad Prather Show, sponsored by ExpressVPN. Why haven't you gotten a VPN yet? Visit expressvpn.com/watchchad. Hey, it's party time, Mom. Welcome to another episode of Chad Prather Show. If I could get my words out, we're going to blow the lid off of coronavirus today. Going to blow the lid off of this nonsense. And it's your eyes are going to be opened. I'm going to give you an argument. I'm going to give you the ability to go out, stand firm, and give you some points of action that you can do yourself personally based on the knowledge we're going to pour out in this episode. Our good friend Clay Clark is going to join us for a few segments today. He is the author of the book called Fear Unmasked. We're even going to give you the opportunity to get that book for free. You can download it online. Can't wait for you to hear what he has to say. He's going to say it, and he's not apologetic about it. And I appreciate that about Clay. Backs it up with facts. These aren't conspiracies. These aren't things that are conjecture. This is real stuff, folks, and you're going to see where this virus comes from, why it exists, where we're going with it, what the agenda is, what the plan for it is, and what the powers that be, call them whatever you want to call them, what their agenda is. It is shocking, folks. It is eye-opening. So Puppet Master Mark is driving us today. And Candice, the queen of the Ethiopians. You guys, we have come a long way from the old Studio 22 where there was no air conditioning.
It's true.
Remember those days? Sitting in there with a styrofoam cooler?
Yeah, it's weird. Now I wear a jacket in the studio. That would have never happened.
Yeah, we have climate control in this place. It's fascinating. But I can't wait to get into this episode, folks. Before we do, I want to talk to you about home title lock. Serious stuff. If your life's in chaos, your home is your safe haven. That's what we've all been there right now. Like, we appreciate the fact that we have a home that we could stay in through these days. It's your most valuable asset. Now, imagine losing your home because of an online scammer. In an instant, you got a place to live, and then all of a sudden, your security, your nest egg, it's not yours anymore. It's called home title theft. FBI calls it one of the fastest growing crimes in America. That's why I want to urge you to get home title lock, the title to your home. As you know, I've told you this. It's online. People can go in and forge your name on your title documents online, and they can put a signature on a quitclaim deed, and it looks like you sold your home. Then they'll borrow against your home. They're going to take out the equity, and you're going to be left with the payments. Bank doesn't cover you. Insurance doesn't cover you. Mortgage company doesn't cover you. Go to HometitleLock.com. Register your address. You'll see if you're already a victim. You can use code CHAD for 30 free days to protect you and help you through this potential crisis. Code CHAD. Go to HometitleLock.com. Get ready, folks. We'll be right back. Hey guys, welcome back. You know where I stand on all of this stuff. It's just gotten crazy. And you've heard me say this over and over again, I've never seen a switch get flipped in people's minds like what I've seen happen here in recent days. And there's so many questions. You don't know what to believe. And people have definitely chosen a side. There's really no middle ground when it comes to this whole COVID-19 coronavirus. And we've gotten to a point now where we talk about conspiracies and conspiracy theories, but I think at this stage in the game, we can start tossing theory out and just start talking about the facts behind what I believe are some true conspiracies. Our guest today, Clay Clark, he's the author of Fear Unmasked. He's the host of Thrive Time Show. And thanks for being with us, Clay. Thanks for hanging out, man.
Yeah, Chad, I really do appreciate you letting me be on the show here with you.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to, I was looking at your notes and I was looking at some things and I got to, it's one of those rabbit holes, right? You just keep going down in it. And you're able to back up these things, and it's one of those deals where it's like, all these aha moments that I'm having because I'm reading your material and we're having these conversations, and I'm like, you know what? I believe that, but you're able to back it up. So I want to kind of be cut and dried. I'm going to ask you questions. You talk freely, but I'm going to ask you some questions here based on your notes, and let's just see where we go with this. Okay? Let's just see where we get on this thing. So you make the point. You say California is now coming into your home. California is separating you from your family. What do you mean when you say that?
Well, California and other states have started hiring these people called tracers. And a contact tracer is supposed to find out if you have COVID-19 or if you don't. And they've talked openly that you have COVID-19 at home with somebody who doesn't have COVID-19. It may have to separate you, according to the head of the Ventura County Health Department there. So I'm not sure what they mean by that, but it's not encouraging.
So we're talking about, this them coming in. They take your children away, and separate your family from you until you test negative for this. Let's say you test positive. Is that my understanding of this?
Yeah, I mean the laws that have been given to these health inspectors and these health leaders are truly unparalleled. They're unprecedented, and they wouldn't have been given to them, Chad, unless people were very scared.
Yeah.
And so you look back and you say, how can somebody overthrow Venezuela? How can somebody overthrow Cuba? How can somebody overthrow Germany? You have to lead with fear. And so one point I want to put into the minds of all of your listeners right now is, who scared you? I guess the question I would ask is, when did you first get scared?
Yeah.
Or when did the person you live with get scared? Everybody got scared when they heard a model. There was a model. A lot of people don't know what a model is. A model is a projection or a piece of code that says, based upon this data, this will happen. And so Neil Ferguson from the Abdul, Latif, Jameel Institute for Disease and Emergency Analytics, Neil Ferguson predicted that 2.2 million Americans would die. 2.2 million. But I don't know anybody who's talking about the Abdul, Latif, Jameel Institute for Disease and Emergency Analytics, and nobody's seen the models. So I thought, as soon as I heard about 2.2 million people dying, I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to look at the model and I'm going to find it. And so I made it available for all of your listeners. But if you go to thrivetimeshow.com, and you click on the little button in the top left, there's a red button there. You can click on it. And when you click it, you can read the models and you can look at it. But what's crazy is that the model that predicted 2.2 million people would die came from the Abdul, Latif, Jameel Institute for Disease and Emergency Analytics. We never hear that. We always hear the report from the UK. And of course, Tucker Carlson has now reported that Neil Ferguson might not have been following his own quarantine protocol. In fact, he didn't, because he was going out every night having an affair while he was keeping the entire UK locked down. But think about that for a second. How differently would you and I have processed the information if we would have heard from the podium? Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, the director of the Abdul Latif Jameel Institute for Disease and Emergency Analytics predicts 2.2 million Americans might die. No one would care. No one even knew what the Abdul Latif Jameel Institute for Disease and Emergency Analytics is. No one would even care. And then, by the way, Deborah Birx now recently came out multiple times, and she said he's adjusted the models, and he's no longer saying that 500,000 people are going to die in the UK. He's now adjusted that to 20,000. Well, if you go from 500,000 predicted deaths in the UK to 20,000, that means Homeboy's model was off by 25 times. It would be like me quoting you $625,000 to remodel your kitchen when I meant to say $25,000.
Yeah.
I mean, the model's crazy.
Yeah, and you're right about that, because people don't know, first of all, we've gotten into this whole new culture of a brand new vocabulary, and you talk about like a model. People don't know what that means. And the model, when it's based off of something that's unfounded, there's no foundation, there's no structure for it, it's not based on anything. These are prognostications, these are projections. I have no question that this virus is, one, real, two, it's infectious for some, but there's no question about it. The mortality rate that they predicted just isn't happening. It's not there. But you're right. It's sown such fear into people. And that's why I say the switch has flipped. And people have gotten to a point now where they are just living in abject horror of the idea. I don't know if it's because they've seen too many movies or what it is, but people don't know how to function.
Well, I would say this. Imagine that I came into your office today and I said, Chad, I have a recommendation. We need to shut your show down. And you're like, shut the show down? Why? And I say, well, because Neil Ferguson says so. And you say, well, who's Neil Ferguson? And I say, well, Neil's the head of the Abdul, Latif, Jameel Institute for Disease and Emergency Analytics. And you say, I've never heard of him. And I'm sure you would say, well, who funded this guy? Has this guy been correct in the past? Now, Chad, let me read these facts to you. In 2005, Neil Ferguson predicted that 200 million people were going to die from the bird flu. 200 million people in 2005. 2009, Neil Ferguson predicted that 65,000 people would die from the swine flu. Think about this. Neil Ferguson in 2002, he predicted that between 50 and 50,000 people would die from exposure to the mad cow disease. Between 50 and 50,000. How does this guy have any credibility? I mean, this guy is off his rocker consistently. I don't even understand why anybody listened to it. And then I have good friends of mine who work in the medical community, and they've read me the guidelines that were presented for for determining whether somebody has a COVID case or not. And if you have a cough or flu-like symptom, they're supposed to chalk you up as having a COVID-like symptom. And so Senator Scott Jensen reported on Fox that that's about everybody who's not feeling well. So the number of cases are falsely reported. The models were the models that initially scared you were dramatically inflated. The number of cases are inflated, and the government shutdown is it's an overreaction. We have no scientific basis, no medical basis, and no constitutional basis for acting like this. There is something bigger and more nefarious at work when Neil Ferguson is tasked with the job of telling America whether we should be shut down or not.
This is sort of like these preachers / cult leaders that keep predicting the end of the world. And well, this date came and passed, and now it's like, well, I was off by this calculation. We're going to go to the next one, right? And right. It's like after a while, you look at these people and you're like, these people are insane. They're off their rocker. They have no credibility, but yet we're willing to give it when it comes to this medical situation here.
Well, think about this for a second. Would it be reasonable that we should look into who funded the Abdul Latif Jameel Institute? Does that sound fair?
Absolutely.
Okay, check this out. This is not conspiracy theory. Everybody Google this real quick, okay? Just type in Amazon funds, F-U-N-D-S, Amazon funds, the Abdul Latif Jameel Institute. Everybody Google it for a second. Take a moment and Google it. Of all the companies in the world, why would Amazon purchase 100,000 vehicles from the Abdul Latif Jameel Institute 1 year before they needed them? Think about it. So, and who's the big winner in all this? Amazon. One more fun factoid for you. Who funded the Wuhan lab with millions of US dollars? So everybody do a Google search. Don't trust me. Google it right now. Search it up. Here we go. Type in Dr. Fauci funds the controversial Wuhan lab, and you'll find the Newsweek article. So gain of function research is research where you are isolating a virus from an animal, and then you are increasing its virality, its transmissibility, to see if it could potentially cause a pandemic. If you, Chad, knocked on my door and said, Clay, what are you doing in there? And I say, I was working on taking the virus out of a bat and seeing if I could mix it with a human to see if it could cause a pandemic. You need to call the cops, because that's weird, man. Yeah. So we've got guy up there every single day who's telling us to wear a mask, don't wear a mask, we shouldn't shut the country down, we should shut the country down. He's the one who funded the Wuhan lab. Yeah. So why are we trusting Dr. Fauci, and why are we trusting Neil Ferguson? I choose to believe that they are wrong. They've been wrong about everything. The models are wrong. The cases are wrong. Wrong.
Yeah, and the old adage stands, whoever creates the panic sells the pill. And so in that regard, I've always said when it comes to Dr. Fauci, he's been there forever. I mean, the guy is almost 80 years old. He's been in D.C. for well over, 40 years. He stands to profit from the whole thing. So why in the world would we trust this guy who's going to stand up? And like you said, he's waffled back and forth. Mask, no mask, stay home, don't stay home, all of these different things. And people don't want to believe that. And in fact, I'm going to tell our producer, Candace, I want her to put the name of the institute up as a lower third whenever we air this so people can Google it.
What I want to do is I want the listeners to understand this today. Think about this. I teamed up with the literary agent of choice for Tim Tebow and Pastor Jensen Franklin. Her name is Esther Fedorakevich. Okay. So I teamed up with Esther to put out a new book called Fear Unmasked: Discover the Truth About the Coronavirus. And all it was meant to do was to point out that the models that were created by Neil Ferguson were wrong. That was the whole purpose. The whole idea was to unmask the fear so people wouldn't be scared. And that book has been banned from Amazon. You cannot buy the book, but you can buy Adolf Hitler's book, Mein Kampf. Why can you buy Adolf Hitler's book about how to exterminate an entire race of people, but you can't buy a book that explains to you the timeline of the coronavirus? Think about this. Why can you not make a post on Facebook that is scientifically against? It's so sad. Doctors are posting, I do not agree with this. We're being told to falsely escalate or elevate the number of cases. And every time somebody posts something that dissents with the Dr. Fauci method or the Neil Ferguson recommendations, then all of a sudden they get deleted. Censorship. I mean, when did censorship? I mean, that right there should set off alarm bells for anybody out there. When was the last time that YouTube and Facebook were censoring everything? I mean, Twitter even censored President Trump last week.
I tell you what we're going to do, Clay. We're going to take a quick break. There's a lot more we want to get into because this is fascinating stuff. We're with Clay Clark, author of Fear Unmasked, host of the Thrive Time Show. Before we go, hey, listen, if you're hoping to go to the range anytime soon to practice your shooting skills, good luck, because between social distancing and leftist politicians closing gun stores and treating the Second Amendment as non-essential, you got millions of Americans that are without a place to safely practice with their firearms. Well, let me tell you about iTarget Pro. You know I love them. They've got that proprietary app, and the laser bullet. I just love saying laser bullet. iTarget Pro, it allows you to safely practice with your actual firearm in the convenience, privacy, and safety of your own home. You can do dry fire training. It develops muscle memory. It helps with target reaction, speed, sight alignment, trigger function, and more. iTarget comes in all the major calibers, including .223 and .556, and you can stay sharp almost any firearm. And right now, I'm going to get you 10% off plus free shipping with the offer code Chad when you buy iTarget today. So don't let circumstances dictate whether or not you're going to train. Take back control. iTarget Pro. Go to targetpro.com today. We'll be right back. Clay Clark, the author of Fear Unmasked, he's in his studios up there in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Man, you're not that far. We got to get together. You know,
we do. I'm committing to do it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. You and I could spend a long time talking. I know we could. You know, I've got 5 million social media followers, right? And so my inbox stays flooded with things. Typically, when something kind of catches fire and goes viral, everybody wants to send it to me. They don't realize I'm on the same internet they're on and have access to a lot of the same stuff. But one of the things that flooded my inbox was that video, Plandemic. I saw it. It's you know, Judy Mikovits, Dr. Judy Mikovits, and it's her story in a short form version. I immediately went and bought the book, Plague, and read it. And, you know, first of all, who is Judy Mikovits?
Well, she was an expert, a doctor that worked very closely with Dr. Fauci. And she decided to write her findings down in her research over the period of years. And she kept coming to the conclusion that the vaccines that Dr. Fauci was recommending to the world caused more harm than helped people. That was her conclusion. And then she was incarcerated without a charge and discredited. And so she basically was in hiding for a while. She went to prison without a charge. A lot of weird things happened. But in her book, without being a medical expert or a scientist, I thought, I'm just going to look up the names that she mentions in the book. And what spooked me, it gave me goosebumps, was she kept mentioning people that were close to Dr. Fauci who disagreed with him. And then she would write their name and what happened to them. And I'm sure if you've read the book too, you know what I'm talking about. People kept disappearing. And anytime people start disappearing that know you, that's where it sets off alarms in my mind. And so the book is a very much, if you read the book and believe the book, then you couldn't believe Dr. Fauci.
Yeah. And you read that and you see these scenarios of people disappearing and showing up in very questionable death circumstances that were told to the general public that it was suicide, but in many cases there was no way. I mean, there's a lot of these things. There was just no way that was suicide. Yeah. And it just happens more and more and more and more, and it's more than a coincidence in this situation. And of course, Dr. Mikovits, one of the accusations that she makes is when it comes to their HIV and AIDS research that they were doing years ago, she said we killed a whole generation of people in Africa because, and ultimately lays the blame at the feet of Dr. Fauci.
Yeah, and I would say this. What I want the listeners to do today, because I think we all need to have very calm thoughts for a second. I just want your listeners to think about three big ideas. Mm-hmm. Point number one, where did the panic start? And I want everybody to Google search right now. But don't trust me. Please don't trust me. Trust Chad. He's a great guy, but don't trust me. Google search Neil Ferguson, director of the Abdul Latif Jameel Institute for Disease and Emergency Analytics. And when you Google search this, you're going to find that that's who created the model that predicted 2.2 million Americans were going to die. That's who predicted it, okay? And then go to YouTube and type in Neil Ferguson, Tucker Carlson. And you're going to see that the guy didn't adhere to his own recommended quarantines. He was having an affair with a married woman in the UK, and he's not a very great guy. I'm going to call him Nefarious Neil based upon what I know about him. Nefarious Neil, that's my nickname for Neil. Now, point two is Dr. Fauci. He's the one who funded the creation he's the one who funded the gain of function research at the Wuhan lab. Chad, do you think that the average person knows that he is the one who directed the funding of the super controversial gain of function research? Do you think anybody knows that?
No.
So point one, again, who created the panic?
Yeah.
Neil Ferguson. Nefarious Neil created the panic, and he's consistently wrong on his models multiple times, okay? Point two, though, Dr. Fauci. He's the one who funded the lab. I don't think people know that. Let me tell you what he funded. It's called gain of function research. Do not believe me, folks. Google search. I can't make this stuff up. Google search. Dr. Fauci funded the controversial Wuhan lab. And when you look at this, think about this. Scientists have criticized gain of function research because it involves manipulating viruses in a laboratory to pull a virus out of an animal and to increase its transmissibility. Chad, if you called me today and said, Clay, what are you working on? And I said, well, what I'm doing is I'm taking the virus out of an animal and I'm trying to see if it goes into a human. I mean, you should call the cops. You need to call the FBI. You need to slap me around. That's that Dr. Evil kind of stuff. It's crazy. So when you see the guidelines being thrown out there, if somebody has a cough or some sort of cold-like symptom, they should be diagnosed as being COVID-like. That's crazy. So one, the models were bogus. Two, the cases are bogus. And the third point I want to hammer home is why are we agreeing to fundamentally change America to stop a panic based upon a false model and false cases? I mean, we're banning schools. We're shutting down economies. Governors from only blue states are shutting their people out. Twitter is deleting President Trump's posts. They're censoring on Facebook, on YouTube. You're now stuck listening to me on the Chad Prather Show. Why am I on the Chad Prather Show? I shouldn't be on the Chad Prather Show. I'm an entrepreneur who doesn't give a crap about politics. But when I heard they were shutting down my Oklahoma City Thunder, I thought, why? So I dove into it and I found it's Neil Ferguson.
Yeah.
So then I reached out to my literary agent, Esther Fedorkevich, who she represents Tim Tebow. I mean, squeaky clean Tim Tebow. And Pastor Jennison Franklin, she represents big-time authors. And we write a book. It's approved by her. It's called Fear Unmasked, Discover the Truth About the Coronavirus. It's just letting you know that the models were wrong. That's all the book is about. And then Amazon bans it. You can't buy it on Amazon. Mm-hmm. But yet you can pick up Adolf Hitler's book.
Yeah.
So what I did today is I made a page on my website. If you go to thrivetimeshow.com and you click on the COVID chaos button, what you can do is you can download the book for free. You can listen to it for free. And I would encourage you to get a piece of paper and a pen and write down anything in the book that you disagree with or you want to research. Go vet it. Don't listen to me.
Yeah.
Don't listen to me. Because when I tell you that the Abdul Latif Jameel Institute that predicted these false models was funded by Amazon, it seems unbelievable. But when you Google search, Amazon funds the Abdul Latif Jameel Institute. That's crazy. So think about this. The company that funded the models is going to benefit from the models the most. And the man who created the virus happens to have the vaccine.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, and there's two things that come up in my mind about that. One, how does a guy who's not a scientist, not a doctor, not an elected official like Bill Gates enter the picture?
Well, the Bill Gates thing is going to freak everybody out. So I'll go in lightly here with Bill Gates. Okay. So Bill Gates, he teamed up with Dr. Fauci, the World Health Organization, and the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases to work together to make a global vaccine, which, by the way, they wouldn't need unless there was a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So please don't believe me, folks. Google search this. Just type in global health leaders launch decade of vaccines. You'll see it right there on the Gates Foundation site. And maybe, Chad, maybe you can make my notes available for all the listeners because it's all there and they can find it. And then why in the crap does Bill Gates have a patent? I mean, think about this. Why would you have a patent? When you have a patent and you decide to give it a vanity number like a license plate, why would he give it the vanity number 060606?
Yeah.
And why is the patent for cryptocurrency using body activity? Have you read this? Have you read this patent?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's dirty. Listen to this. It says body activity may be generated based. I'm reading the abstract here. I'm reading the abstract. It says body activity data may be generated based on the sensed body activity of the user. That's a human.
Mm-hmm.
The cryptocurrency system then communicatively coupled to the device of the human may verify if the body activity data satisfies one or more conditions. I don't know if you had, Chad, if you had a patent for 060606 involving cryptocurrency, I'd be freaked out. So Gates is a big vaccine guy. He and Fauci teamed up to make vaccines. And shockingly, they're recommending that we all have a vaccine. So put it in your mind here, folks. The people that made the models were funded by Amazon. Who benefited the most from the shutdown? Amazon. The people that created the virus, Dr. Fauci, happened to have the vaccine. It's unbelievable. It's so obvious. It's so not a conspiracy theory at this point. It's just obvious. But the problem is the mainstream media will not report it.
Yeah.
And now the only solution for the fake pandemic virus is banning schools, shut down economies, declare some businesses essential and some not, delete President Trump's tweets, censor Facebook posts, censor YouTube. It's jackassery.
Yeah. And here we are. Here we are in this concept of new normal. I hate that term. I mean, it's just, I can't stand this thing. And you're exactly right. What a valid point. Who stands to benefit the most out of this thing? Amazon. I mean, people are, what are you going to do? You're going to sit home? You're going to order off of Amazon? I mean, you're going to make, I mean, Jeff Bezos is becoming a billionaire. I mean, he's becoming a trillionaire, I should say.
Well, you know, Chad, if I came to your office, and think about this, Chad, in your studio, how many people work with you in your studio typically? Is there 10 people, 20 people?
Yeah, we got a half dozen.
Okay, so imagine I came in and I said, guys, there is a virus in the bathroom, and it is bad. And you say, well, we'll kill it, eliminate it, do what you have to do. I say, sure. And I just happen to own the cleaning service, the only cleaning service that can eliminate the virus.
Yeah.
Isn't there a conflict of interest there at some point when the guy telling us to shut our country down? And by the way, the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, now reports that 99.2% of the people that died from the coronavirus in Italy were elderly people with a compromised immune system. So please explain to me why shutting down schools makes any sense.
Yeah.
And so, Chad, what I wanted to do for your listeners is I wanted to give them a whole bunch of free stuff because they've had to put up with me today. So I have some free stuff here for you. One, you can go to thrivetimeshow.com, and if you click on the top left of the website on the COVID Chaos button, you can download the book for free, ebook or the audio book. It's all for free. You don't have to give me your email. You just click download, boom. But also, if you're listening right now in the Chicago area, and I know you are, we are hosting the largest Reopen America rally yet. It is in Chicago on Memorial Day, and we've got the author of the E-Myth, Michael Gerber. He'll be speaking there. I mean, it's going to be a huge event. We've got some great speakers. Dr. Jim Meehan, he's a virology expert. He's going to explain to you that check this out, the vaccine that Fauci wants you to take, did you know that it's made largely by using ground-up midterm fetuses, late midterm aborted fetuses? Did you know that that's in the actual vaccine?
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Crazy, pure craziness.
So if you're listening and you're pro-life, you're going to be forced to take a vaccine that is comprised of mutilated fetuses?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
So
and you've got Alan Dershowitz who's coming out and saying there's a constitutional right to force you to have it. I mean, there's more I want to get into, Clay. Hang tight real quick. Before we go to a break, though, Shippo, the only shipping software for growing businesses that you can start today, set up in minutes, and then ship today. I've been using Shippo for a long, long time, and I love them. They ship hundreds of millions of packages, and Shippo's volume discounts save you 90% off of carrier rates. So connect your online store to Shippo. You don't have to worry about any coding or technical expertise that's required. They're going to instantly identify the lowest shipping rates from 55 plus top global carriers like UPS, USPS, FedEx, DHL. Your orders are automatically pulled in, ready to go. Just click print ship plus automated return labels. Free. You only pay if your customers use them. Companies that use Shippo save thousands of dollars, free up hours of valuable time, and on average grow 77% year over year. I'm telling you, I love them. And it's easy enough that Party Foul Steve uses it every single day. And if he can do it, you know you can do it. So join over 100,000 companies like Goat, Hims, and MeUndies who are saving up to 90% off their carrier rates with Shippo. And for our listeners, they're offering the best discount available anywhere. Get a shipping consultation and Shippo Pro Plan 6-month trial for free. Go Shippo.com. That's SHIPPO. GoShippo.com/Chad. And that's a $700 value, folks, for free. GoShippo.com/Chad. We'll be right back. You know, Clay, if I came up with something and I patented it and I gave it a 666 number, my mother would say, "Why did you do that? Like, what were you thinking on a deal like that?" But that's what we have here. And now they're saying, you know, you got to have this vaccine. Again, Alan Dershowitz comes out and says, well, constitutionally, they have a right to force you to get it, which that should raise a lot of red flags right there. And when you look at this thing, you start to see through the nonsense of who's going to benefit from this thing. They create the problem, they provide the solution, and as a consequence, we agree to fundamentally change America.
Let's talk about this for just a second. I want to make sure the listeners are getting this idea. So let's a quick pop quiz. Who created the models? Okay, Neil Ferguson created the models, and Neil Ferguson is the head of what company? He's the head of he was the director of the Abdul, Latif, Jameel Institute for Disease and Emergency Analytics. So again, put that in your mind, folks. Neil Ferguson created the models that were wrong. They predicted 2.2 million people would die. It was off by 25 times, according to Dr. Deborah Birx, and it was funded by Amazon. Everybody just get that in your mind. Make it simple. Don't get complicated. Don't get into the weeds. Point two, Dr. Fauci funded the creation of the virus in the Wuhan lab, and he and Bill Gates have teamed up to make a vaccine. So what you said first is 100% true. That's very important that we all research that, we wrestle with it. Now, what you said earlier that was disturbing to me, you said that the whole 666 thing. Well, let's talk about the number 666 for a second. Where does that term come from? The term 666 was the Latin spelling of Nero Caesar. Now, Nero was a guy who said, if you do not bow down to me and burn incense to me and take my mark, kind of like my tattoo, I have two fun options for you. A, you can feed your kids to the lions, or B, I can feed your kids to the lions, and then I'm going to set you on fire. That was Nero was the most corrupt, terrible person of all time. So the reason why you would use the number of 666 is to let people know that you're coming for them. So this bill that's being proposed right now is, if everybody Google search, do not believe me, please. Google search this right now. Type bar 666 gov. And Chad, I've done well in business. You've done well, but we're not powerful enough to put a fake bill on the U.S. government website. If you go to congress.gov, folks, everybody search HR 666 gov. You and I are not talented enough and or powerful enough to fake that. Mm-hmm. So when somebody chooses that number, they let you know they're coming for you.
Yeah.
So what we have to do right now is we have to do something, right? Education is powerful, right? But Thomas Edison said that education, he says that education without implementation is absolutely meaningless. Again, education without implementation is meaningless. Vision without execution is meaningless. So we have to act upon that. We have to act. We have to do something. And so I want to give your listeners some stuff they can do today, some things that they can do. And I want to brag on a few of your listeners out there that are doing some big things. Have you heard about peaceablygather.com? Have you heard about that yet? Peaceably
I have.
Gather?
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
The guy who is at the very genesis of it, his name is Pastor Brian Gibson, and he is one of my clients. And I was meeting him and sharing with him this information. And he knew it kind of felt weird. Something felt weird. It's weird they're editing your Facebook posts and YouTube. He has a church. They're being censored. He knows about Neil Ferguson and the models. He knows that Fauci funded Wuhan. It just feels weird. We're talking about shutting our country down for 18 months or 24 months. So he did his own research and came to the conclusion that we are right now involved in something called a coup d'etat. Now, a coup d'etat is where it's a forcible removal of an existing government from a power through often passive-aggressive means, like what you saw in Venezuela in 2013. He says, no, this is not going to happen on my watch. So he started peaceablygather.com, and it is a group of churches from coast to coast. Any of your listeners can join on this, where they're all opening now. And we're not opening in the future. We're not opening in a few months. We're opening now. Because we now know that the science shows that social distancing is stupid, wearing a mask is actually bad for you, and the number of cases has been inflated, and the models were corrupt from nefarious Neil Ferguson. So Fox picked up the story, and I'm proud to report to you right now, Chad, there are over 5,000 churches open in states where they shouldn't be. And you know what happened in Kentucky last week when Pastor Brian showed up to meet with his congregation against the state's rule? Do you want to guess what happened? Nothing.
Yeah.
Because they can't stop everybody.
Right.
So if you're listening right now, open your business. Be like that wonderful guest you had in Dallas, the hair salon owner who opened up her business.
Yeah.
Do it. Make it happen. We have to start a revolution. We've got to do it now. We need to open up now. And so if you'll go to peaceablygather.com, you can sign the pledge. You know, we had 3,000 churches come online, 3,000 churches in the great state of California.
That's great.
3,000 churches are opening up, and they're going to open up on the 31st. And the only reason they have to take a little bit of time is because they have to get everybody back. They've got to get all the hand sanitizer. They have to gather everybody. They want to do it in a smart way, but they now know the models are wrong. They know the projections are wrong. They know the case numbers have been inflated, and they realize it's going to take months for the government to figure this out. But they're opening now, and everybody needs to open up now. And if you're in the Chicagoland area, you need to show up on Memorial Day at our massive rally. It's Monday, May 25th from 12 to 2 at the Buckingham Fountain in the center of Grant Park. And it looks like we're on pace to have maybe 10,000 people. 10,000. This will be the biggest large group in America in the last 2 months. This is going to be the biggest group event. I mean, it's going to be like a concert out there.
Yeah.
Social distancing is not going to happen out there. No way.
And that's fantastic. You know, I'm thankful to, in the state of Texas, I'm thankful that, so many more places are starting to open up. We've got leadership here in Texas who have, they've gone against the grain and doing a fantastic job. It was beautiful. I was, I did a music show last night, Fort Worth, Texas, with, several hundred of my closest friends, and there was no social distancing going on. And so, that was, it's one of those things where you're right. You got to open now. You got to take the risk. You got to execute the vision.
I have a confession for you, if I can make a confession, Chad, here. We've been recording this show. My team has not been social distancing at all. Yeah. And so they want to make some noise for you. So we've got the Thrive Time show here, team here. They're here with you there. We've got many of them, and we have not been social distancing at all for 2 months. In fact, I don't know if you're back there. Nobody is social distancing. We don't give a crap. We're spreading herd immunity. We're hugging each other. We don't wear masks. Ah!
There it is. I love it.
I'm a Christian man who's heterosexual, but I've been hugging random men I don't know just to spread the And I encourage everybody listening to this, spread the herd humanity. Come on, spread that herd humanity right now. And you got to do it, Chad. You got to do it.
That's one of the reasons why we have consistently come in here, and God bless your folks, man. Tell them we love them and appreciate them. And I'll tell you what, love the energy there. We've continued, our crew has continued to come into the studio. A lot of folks haven't. They've chosen to work at home, or they've been asked to work at home. We've continued to come into this beautiful studio. We're getting around each other. I, too, am a white, heterosexual Christian male, and I've been kissing men on the mouth. I'm not scared of anybody at this point.
Wow, these guys are hurting me. No, but seriously, it has to happen. It's a revolution. I want all the listeners to resolve this in your minds. The way you end liberty is one paper cut at a time.
Mm-hmm.
You don't end liberty. You don't announce. If you want to end liberty and switch us into a vastly more socialistic or complete socialist country, none of the leaders who've ever switched their country into a totalitarian, socialistic, fascist worldview, Hitler didn't come out and say, all right, everybody, step one, turn over all your people to me and let's kill them. He never said that. And people don't know this, but I want everyone to look this up real quick. Everybody do a Google search for New York Post, Adolf Hitler, New York Post, Adolf Hitler, and influenza. I want everyone to read that. Now, this is from the New York Post. The article is Influenza Pandemic Fueled the Rise of the Nazi Party. Now, I'm a big studier of history. And Adolf Hitler, he spread the rumor that the Jewish people have the virus. And people are going, they have the virus? And he actually convinced them to go to quarantine camps. I want everyone to remember this. He forced them to go to quarantine camps. Look it up. Choose to believe I'm crazy. Look it up. Don't trust me. Look it up. He sent people to quarantine camps to help stop the spread of the virus. It kind of makes sense. He sent traces to separate you from the home. And when people are scared, they will do anything. You can rule with fear.
Yeah. And
I just think that's so important. Have you ever read Mein Kampf, Adolf Hitler's book?
The cliff notes of it, yeah.
I have an Adolf Hitler quote, which I typically don't like to do Adolf Hitler quotes, but I thought this would be good for the listeners there. Adolf Hitler once said, if you tell a big enough lie, and you tell it frequently enough, it will be believed.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't even turn on Facebook or Spotify or Google or YouTube without getting a warning about COVID-19. And even though the models have been shown to be completely wrong in every possible way, you still get those warnings. Dr. Deborah Birx, she came out, I'm sure you saw this, she said there is nothing from the Center for Disease Control that I can trust. That's Dr. Deborah Birx saying that. You continue to have these warnings. Yeah. You're being taught that going out and shaking hands with somebody is somehow bad for the community. Yeah. Opening a business is bad for the community. You should feel guilty for doing that. You're learning to wear a mask and to comply with the jackassery. And I encourage everybody to get out to a local rally now. Don't just get out wearing masks. Go hug somebody and find out more at peaceablygather.com. Again, that's peaceablygather.com. Or you can go to the Thrive Time Show and click on the button in the top left, and you can learn about the Chicago rally. You can learn about Peaceably Gather, and you can download the new book for free.
There it is. Clay Clark, folks, the author of Fear Unmasked. Go get it. He's giving it to you. And watch this episode over again. Clay, I'm going to have you on again very, very soon, okay, buddy? And, I appreciate you, man. Take care. God bless you, and we'll talk soon.
Take care.
I hate it when I'm right sometimes, and I've been right about this. If you've had that little inner tingle in your brain that says something's fishy about this whole deal, obviously you're right. Something is fishy about the whole thing. I've said it. I said from the very beginning that they're going to use capitalism to create a state of socialism. California is setting the trend for what they want to see happen to America. That's why people are leaving California in droves. They can't handle that dictatorship that's there. And it's an expensive dictatorship, folks. They want to do that to America, and we're seeing it happen little by little through this coronavirus nightmare. More people's lives are going to be lost, not because of the virus, but because of the effects of the control that it is creating. So do your own research. Find out. Next week, I want us to do a deep dive. We're going to keep getting into this thing because I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it, and I don't like the way it makes me feel. And I don't like the way it affects your life either. BlazeTV.com/Chad. Sign up. Also go to WatchChad.com. We love y'all. God bless you. Stay safe out there. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.